All right, listeners, before we get into this week's podcast, I just want to thank our sponsor, Airship Notebooks. They're sponsoring us for the month of March. And artists know that details matter. Whatever you're creating, the details set great art apart. So when Airship Notebooks set out to create their Alpha Sketch Notebook, they paid attention to every little thing. It's 100% recycled paper, beautifully handles pencil, marker, and even watercolor, or whatever other medium you choose. The Alpha Sketchbook's brilliant lay-flat binding is not only more comfortable and convenient, it lets you spread your creativity across the entire 2-page landscape. It's all that helps artists and designers, people like you, be more creative and more productive. Here's one more thing for our listeners. You can go to airshipnotebooks.com right now, enter coupon code Inebri-art, Inebriart 30, and you'll get 30% off your entire order. This offer is valid during the entire month of March, so grab it while you can, and thank you again to Airship Notebooks for sponsoring the Inebri-art podcast and all our events. All right, welcome back, Inebri-ites. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast, and I am once again recording from my home, opposed to our normal recording places like the Craft Beer Cellar and Mayflower Brewery, because of quarantine and social distancing, and there's no real choice. So we have with us today Snny, who is a musician. We've been getting a lot of musicians, I think, because there's been numerous tours canceled, and there's just a lot of people sitting around doing not much of anything. How are you faring in the quarantine situation there, Snny? Where are you from, first off?
I'm originally from the Ivory Coast, but I live in New York, and I'm currently in Iceland right now with my family, my wife and her family out here. And so trying to, stay safe and stuff.
What's the situation in Iceland? Is it on lockdown or restricted in any way? Or
it's not as strict as it is in the States right now. I think about it pretty early, so it's been like pretty nice to be able to like go out. I mean, everyone's still being kind of safe, and we're advised to quarantine for 14 days upon like entering the country and stuff. So. They're being super careful, but as it was in Brooklyn for us, which is why we left.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, New York's been really hit hard. I'm lucky where I am, a little south of Boston, where it's like Boston got hit pretty hard. Around here, it's kind of, it's still bad, but it's, I think it's less than 100 cases in our town. So,
yeah,
what
that's good.
Yeah,
I grew in Framingham, Massachusetts.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah. Framingham is right around. I wouldn't say right around the corner, but we run events up there at some of the breweries, so we go up there on occasion. But
nice,
cool.
Nice.
So you've been kind of all over.
Yeah.
So
I lived in LA for a little bit too. So
yeah, what were you doing just prior to all this happening? Were you on tour, in the studio, or was it just kind of business as usual?
Yeah, I mean, I had just finished my new EP. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and we just had a baby in October.
Oh, congrats!
So we were pretty much in the house already, like all the time.
Yeah.
And I was just gearing up to put out this new project. So I wasn't really traveling that much. And honestly, it didn't really change much for me.
Right. Yeah, those first few months with the baby, you're kind of quarantined anyways.
Exactly, yeah.
Was your first kid or?
Second?
Nice. So for our listeners, and I hate asking this question because it's such a hard question to answer, but it's the only way to really kind of give listeners an idea
before listening, but how would you describe your music? Like, how would you classify it?
That's super hard.
Yeah,
Well, I
see,
guess
it's a terrible question, but would you, if you were to go on tour with a well-known band that made sense, who would it be? How about that?
probably. I mean, the tour probably wouldn't make sense, but it would probably be Bob Dylan, Toro y Moi, and Mos Def.
Okay. I can honestly say I am familiar with Mos Def, mostly from his acting. I know he's a musician, but
Yeah, that's what I love about him, though. He's so he can just do anything. I mean, he's such a chameleon.
yeah. And I'm trying to remember. I think I saw him do like a thing on Guantanamo where they were basically, he was showing what it was like to be force fed. He's like really an interesting guy.
Yeah, he's a character.
So you have this new EP out. How long have you been working on it? Obviously however you're promoting it's going to be delayed a little bit, but
Yeah, I mean, I've been working on it for, I want to say like maybe 2 years. Not intentionally. I just kind of pieced it together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of just like figuring stuff out and taking my time to just live.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be able to finally put this out because I have, I think, lived enough up until this point. And it's really just a reflection of like the past couple years. I got a chance to go back to the Ivory Coast after like 17 years, and that was like very inspirational and a big part of this project. So,
what was it? What is it that was inspirational about it? Are there like traditional music that carries into your album, or was it just kind of like you did a lot of the writing there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I just saw a lot of similarities in what I do and what they do. And not to say that like my music sounds exactly like Ivorian music, but like they use a lot of polyrhythmic drums, and the way they sing on a lot of their like folk songs and like the storytelling aspect of it is very similar to what I try to do. And it doesn't come out sounding like what they do, but I did see a lot of similarities in that sense. And my great uncle was also like a really huge musician out there early on. He was like one of the founding fathers of Ivorian popular music, and his music was just a blend of so many things too. And he found inspiration from all sorts of places, and he brought that to his music. And I didn't even realize that we were related up until like last year.
Oh wow!
When my mom told me, and I was like, "Wow, that's crazy." Yeah, I was really like, "Wow, that's amazing," because I noticed like a lot of the things he does in his music, same things that I do. Like I pull from all these different pieces and places and stuff. And
because I was going to ask if he was a big influence, but if you didn't even know,
yeah, I didn't even realize. Yeah. He wasn't really a big influence for me. Did my research, and I mean, he was working with a lot of cool people. He worked with, I don't know if you know Manu Dibango, the Cameroonian African artist that passed away recently.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that name sounds really
because
familiar.
of coronavirus. Actually, yeah. I think he just passed away.
Yeah.
But he was all in jazz, funk, fusion stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you do any recording while you were out there, or was it more writing, or just kind of taking in?
I didn't do any. I don't really like making music in like places like that when I'm like traveling for like an experience or something. I kind of just like to take it in and then go back and
kind of digest it that way
and make music and write or whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I actually wrote the song about the Ivory Coast before I went. Like the day I bought my ticket to go, song, and I kind of wrote it with a lot of like aspirations as to what I would find there and like what it would be like and what I would hope to find there. And because I just wanted to see if like I would come back and still like the song and if it would like hold any weight to my actual experience, and it did. And it was like really amazing.
Now, what kind of, do they have their own language there? What do they speak there? And do you speak it, and do you try to work that into your music?
Yeah, so the main language there is French. So they speak French, and then there's like 96 different dialects that they speak as well. I do speak French. French was my first language, and I do try to like put that into my music a lot. On this album, I did a few times. I don't know enough of the dialects to try to do that. I know like a little bit of like one of them that my mom speaks. It's really hard, like, but it sounds so cool. It all sounds so rhythmic, like it's like speaking drums or something. Sometimes it sounds really cool.
I'm always fascinated by kind of like, you know, I hate to say that Americans aren't really educated on the rest of the world, but we're not. And like you kind of come across these other countries and just kind of the sound of their language. Like the one I find really fascinating is South African, where it's like you can almost feel like you understand what they're saying because they incorporate a lot of English in it and very similar sounding words and
English.
So
it's like patois.
It's like what?
Like what they speak in Shemina.
Oh yeah.
It's like a broken English kind of. Yeah.
So you're based out of New York. Do you play most of your gigs there? Or?
I mean, I'd say it's pretty much all over the map. Like I've done gigs in New York, but I wouldn't say that I play most of my gigs there. I think I try to kind of like get out of the city as much as I can. I'd like to get overseas and play some shows in France and stuff because I have a good fan base out there too.
Yeah. Would you like to go back to the Ivory Coast to tour there? I mean, there must be a big music scene.
Oh, of course. Yeah, man, I would love that. I mean, I'd love to tour like West Africa in general, whole of Africa. That'd be amazing. That's like my dream.
And
there's such a huge music out there, and it's, you know, it's growing too. They just had like a Coachella in Ghana.
Oh, really?
Or their version of Coachella.
Right, yeah.
It's like massive.
So
yeah,
I don't think people tend to think of Africa as a place where a lot of bands come out of. Are there currently any bands that you're listening to from there that people should be checking out?
Not any bands that I know. I mean, I'm constantly on the lookout for like
I should say musicians, not necessarily band, but you
know. Yeah. But I am. I mean, I know there is a scene, like there's like an alternative indie scene out there that I'm not too familiar with yet, and some of my cousins have like shown me some stuff, and I need to kind of like dig deeper into that. But in terms of like artists that I like from out there, I really like Burna Boy, who he blew up like last year in the States and stuff, and he's an artist that I really like. There's also another artist from the Ivory Coast. His name is Afro B, and he's also really good. They do more like Afro beats, I guess. It's a little different than what I do, but I mean, it's all the same. It all stems from the same place, you know.
And when you're writing music, how do you begin? Do you begin with a beat, a melody, or the lyrics? Like, what's kind of your system?
Usually, like the lyrics and the melody go hand in hand for me. That's usually how I start with. I usually start with lyrics, but that usually comes with a melody. So I guess that's usually how it starts, unless I'm working on something that you know, one of my buddies has like a guitar or something where it's like more instrumentation and heavy, and you know, and then I write to that. But most of the times it's just like lyrics.
Yeah. Do you work collaborative most of the time, or just pretty much by yourself?
when I'm writing, just lyrics, always just me. But to build out a song and stuff, I don't really play that many instruments. My tools are singing and songwriting, so I'm always collaborating with people that I trust and that I really love to work with a lot. So I like to just kind of like build this nice little community around what I do.
Yeah.
And I over the shoulder produce.
Over the shoulder produce. That's interesting. It's like backseat producing.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've built out this community of people, like you said, so you can work collaboratively. Are they all kind of like based in the same area, or now with the internet, do you find that you can do more with people who like this, where you're in Iceland, I'm in Plymouth, and
Yeah.
yeah. Do you have that community worldwide, or is it still just kind of locally?
I do have that community. I would say yeah. So the core guys that I like worked with on this EP are all based in New York.
Yeah.
But I do have like friends and stuff that are all over the place that I would like, always collaborate with and connect with, no matter where I am. But I have built this like nice group of musicians that I do love to work with in New York. So that's always fun. But yeah, I mean, like now, given the state of the world, I guess it doesn't really matter where you are.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because I've even talked to some people who, trying to remember, a friend of mine's father's a law professor, and now he has to do all his meetings with Zoom like we're doing here. And he's like, I don't know why we didn't always do this. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of things that just don't go back. And it's just so convenient to sit in front of your computer and instead of trying to like get everybody together. So it was your uncle who was the Ivorian musician, right?
Yeah, his name was Ernesto Cheche.
Oh, he's passed on?
He passed away a lot, like very, very early into his career.
I was going to ask if that was someone that you wanted to work with, but I suppose that's a no.
I would have loved to work with him, but unfortunately, that can't happen.
So do you find, you said you have a fairly big fan base in France. Do you find a particular part of the world where people are more in tune with your music, or is it kind of all over?
Yeah, I'd say it's kind of all over. Section of how I grew up, you kind of very different scenarios, different places, different cultures, and I think that somehow is reflected into my music unintentionally, which then kind of like attracts people from all aspects of life in a way. So yeah, I mean, even when I go into the analytics of who's listening to my music and where they're from, I'll have people in like Poland, in like India, in Arizona, in LA, in New York. I mean, it's really spread out, and that's really weird to me, but really cool.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do, is to like go see where the podcast is being downloaded, and we had a steady listener in Nigeria for like 6 months, and we get
that's amazing.
Spain and all over the place. And I remember the first country outside the United States that we were ever downloaded in was the Netherlands. And I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, someone in the Netherlands listened to the podcast. And like a week later, I talked to my buddy. He's like, oh, I was listening to your podcast when I was traveling. I'm like, oh, where'd you go? He's like, the Netherlands. I'm like, oh, you suck.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so fascinating that we can just kind of look and see who's listening. Was there any one place that really surprised you? Like I said, Nigeria kind of blew my mind, and I think another one.
I think, where was it? I think it's somewhere in like Japan. Recently I was looking, there was like, I saw like a spike in like listeners in Japan. And I was like, wow, that is so random. Like, I wonder why that's happening. Like, like what happened with my music in Japan for all, you know,
you wonder if it's like
I have
one
like 300.
one person finds it and shares it with his friends or something.
And yeah, maybe. It's really, really interesting. I mean, yeah. Poland was also very surprising. I saw some listeners in Poland.
So how do you, I mean, it's such a new day and age for music with YouTube and Spotify, and how do you leverage those platforms to kind of spread your music? I mean, obviously you'd be on all of them, but do you do any kind of special marketing, or do you just kind of put it up there and hope for the best?
Yeah, I mean, I do playlists and stuff. I create my own playlists sometimes, and honestly, I don't think about it. I just put out the music, and you know, if they like it, they like it. You know, it is what it is. For me, like at the end of the day, when I'm done making the music, that's like the best part. Everything else after that, is cool. Like, I don't really put too much weight into it. I know I shouldn't probably be saying that as an up and coming artist, because it's important to have a good grasp on your social media and like how you're getting yourself out there, how you're putting yourself out there. And I do pay attention to that, and I do try to do a good job and just like making sure everything is cohesive with like the visuals and, you know, my messaging and everything. But at the same time, I'm not really thinking about too much of it, you know. I just like to put the music out and let the universe work its magic. And yeah.
Yeah, because I can feel like sometimes the social media aspect can almost become, you know, your goal is to make music, but you can almost become like too obsessed with the social media where that becomes the focus. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It takes away from your art too.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, it's time
if you're like in the studio. Yeah. Or even it can influence like the creative process. Because if you're like in the studio trying to come up with a track that will do well on TikTok, as opposed to make a good song, you know, like that's not good. And I never want to be in that situation where I'm trying to think about how this will do on social media or on a streaming platform or whatever, because that's not why I started making music.
Yeah. It's in earlier this week or late last week, I don't know, it's all blended together. I interviewed Red from Red Gold Green, and the way they made their band name, it's Red Gold Green with no vowels, and they did it for search engine optimization. And he's even like, yeah, I mean, it works, but it's kind of a dumb name. You know, so it's like you don't. I mean, I respect it. They're a really cool band, but it's like I don't know if I'd want to be and I don't want to make it sound like I'm throwing shade, but that idea of being like, I don't even like the name of our band is kind of like, ugh, really? You know, that can be kind of tough, you know. So yeah, so that's kind of a weird thing, but you kind of have to walk that line between thinking about it a little bit and not letting it run, you know, your music. Is that fair?
Yeah. You know, it's good to have those things like on your mind, and you know, because it's a part of the landscape now of music, and it's very important at the same time. But I just don't try not to let it influence my creative process at all.
Yeah, you brought up TikTok, and I have to, you know, play the 45-year-old guy card and be like, I know nothing about TikTok. I know it's like kind of like Vine, but is there a
TikTok is basically Vine.
Yeah. So is there like a big music community
like
on TikTok?
It is Vine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like there's a community of TikTok influencers who essentially make songs go viral by creating these like dances for the song and hashtagging it on TikTok, which in turn makes millions and millions of people want to do the dance too. And then they post that on Instagram, and then it just kind of like propels itself from there. So there's like a whole formula for it. And I think a lot of labels and artists and stuff are really putting a lot of weight into it to to try and, get a lot of songs, some tractions, and it's great. I mean, all these platforms are cool. I mean, I can't throw any shade on TikTok because it's dope. If you utilize it in a cool way, like awesome, good, great.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
That's fair.
Yeah, like I think it's awesome. I think it's great. If my song blew up on TikTok, I would not be pissed. I would not be mad. I'd be like, nice.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna sit here and try to come up with a TikTok dance for my song to go viral on TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so, and it's one of those things I feel like you can't force anything to go viral. You just have to. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah, and whatever. There's just also there's like something really strange about like going viral, because there's like the it's the downside of it. Like when you're on your way down from that peak of being viral, it's weird. Like all the people that I know that went viral, I don't think it's going that well in their creative mind anymore.
Do you think it's kind of like,
I don't know,
because I feel like a lot of things like that online kind of start off where people really enjoy it, and then it almost becomes like it turns into a comedic bit because people are so over it being viral that they kind of start to poke fun at it.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of it. It has to be part of it. I really don't know. I think someone needs to make a Netflix documentary on this.
On the people who've gone viral, that'd be really interesting.
I'd love to see the people who've gone viral, like where are they now? What are they doing, and how do they feel? I might be totally wrong. They might be super happy, super rich, and super creative still. But I don't know.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to find out kind of like what's happened to them, and because you even have like these.
It's like child celebrities.
Yeah. Well, you have like that kid that came up with the floss dance. Like that was huge for like a hot second, and now it's like, did it go to his head? Does he still think he's quote unquote famous, or just like no one knows who that is, and kind of the floss dance is a joke now,
Yeah, it's crazy, man. And fame is so different like today than it was like 20 years ago. It's like on a whole different level now.
Yeah. Do you think
because everyone has a phone?
Do you think we would ever have, because you mentioned Bob Dylan when we first started, do you think we have musicians that will achieve that Bob Dylan level now, where everybody, becomes a household name?
For sure. I mean, I think if anything, it's easier now, like I said, because everyone has access to everyone, the internet makes that possible. Before, I feel like if you didn't read about it in a newspaper or hear it on a radio or hear it from your neighbor, you didn't know what it was. Now it's like, it's everywhere. There's no avoiding it sometimes, Like if you don't know what TikTok is, you've probably heard the term before,
right?
At least, So I think, yeah, I mean, I think we can definitely have like that Bob Dylan-esque level of fame still, for sure. But I think it becomes a question of quality.
Right.
Like, okay, cool, but like, where is the quality in it? Or like, what is this person saying? Or what is this person doing? And there are a lot of artists doing great things and doing good, but I think also with the internet, you get a lot of bullshit too at the same time.
Sure. I feel like, back in my day, where there was kind of like a progression where people would kind of like slowly build an audience and everyone would kind of collectively find out about them. Where now I feel like when I find out about, like, the one that jumps to mind is Billie Eilish. I first saw her on a YouTube show. And then like 2 weeks later, she was on like Saturday Night Live. And then she's like doing the theme song for a Bond movie. And I'm like, who the hell is this person? She's got, millions of fans. And I like just found out about her. And it was just weird how someone can get that big without just kind of missing the radar because there's so many channels for information to be passed around.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, she's a great example of that. And she's such a talented artist too. Like, she deserves all of that.
I love her stuff. And that
praise.
Was one of those like, how did I not hear about this? This is great.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, when it happens that way, that genuinely makes me happy for the artist and for the person because, we only see the aftermath of it. But before that, she was putting in the work. She was putting in the hours. Like the YouTube video you may have seen was probably one of dozens that she had done, and it's amazing that kids can kind of like shape their own careers in a sense now because they have all the tools.
Yeah. That whole overnight success is just a complete lie. It's like, there's so much work that goes into it. Yeah.
There's a lot of math that goes into it too. It's all very strategic.
Yeah. Because we were talking about that a little bit earlier, where like, that's not the enjoyable part. Like, you just want to do the music. So do you enlist other people to kind of do that math for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's smart to, surround yourself with people that can help push your vision forward. Especially if, I wouldn't consider myself someone that's, I'm a musician first and foremost, and I'm an artist. Like, that's what I do. And I think to put out my product, I need someone who's skilled at doing that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I hired a PR team, digital marketing. I think it's important, you have to kind of like take care of this baby, this art, this project that you've created. And if you want it to get out in the right way, you have to kind of put the time and effort, and most of the time is money into making that happen.
And do you spend a lot of time kind of thinking about like your personal message? And last night I was recording another show, and we were talking about how, especially in a time like this where we're all locked down all the time, and you're recording content, and you want to be like, it's terrible, life is awful, I don't want to deal with any of this, but you can't. Like, so you kind of build not like an act, but you have to kind of put your best foot forward at all times when you're doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Do you kind of consciously think about that, or is that part of the whole marketing? Or
I'm pretty optimistic naturally, so like a lot of times when like shit is going terribly, I'm always just like, it's all right. Like it is what it is. Like, we'll figure it out. I've never been like the guy to, be like, man, it sucks, the world is ending, it's terrible. No, like, I think it's important to stay positive because you put out that energy and it comes back to you 100-fold. And it's important to, put that out into the universe. So I don't have a problem with my messaging. I don't really think about it. I just am this person that, wants to be positive at all times. It's very draining.
and I think what people really want is that genuine, they don't want an act, they want you, and your fans will connect with you on who you are. And if, you kind of put on a fake front, then it kind of becomes like, oh, it's not really like that. Or
yeah, exactly.
Do you use any of these platforms online or at your shows? Like, how do you best connect with your listeners?
I'd say like I'm very active on Instagram and Twitter. Mm-hmm. I have like a Facebook page too. I don't use it as much. But I'm such a visual person that Instagram is like perfect for me.
Yeah.
That's where I spend most of my time. And yeah, I mean, I try to like connect to as many fans as I can. I always go through like messages and stuff and try to reply to as many people as I can. I think that's important. I don't really, I don't really shy away from like talking to people that support my music, because I think, we owe it to each other to have these moments where we can say thank you,
Mm-hmm.
and, share that, even if it's just like, like a high emoji or whatever it is. Like,
Right.
someone took the time out of their day to listen to your music, and, for me, that means a lot.
So, kind of take a step away from music a little bit, because I'm very interested in Iceland. What's it like there? Like, what's because they're fairly known for having a bit of a music scene there too, as well, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Sigur Rós, Bjork.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful out here, man. It's the most like peaceful place on earth, I would say. The weather's been pretty cold these past couple of weeks. It's been snowing a little bit, but if you're from Massachusetts, so it's honestly warmer than it is in Massachusetts sometimes.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Massachusetts, you never can friggin' tell. Like,
exactly, and that's kind of like the weather here. It's like always changing. There was like a blizzard the day we got here, and then the next day all the snow was gone.
Yeah.
So,
that sounds like Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's really nice.
There was the first time I saw it was probably close to a decade ago, and I feel like it happens more and more frequently, which freaks me out. But we get thundersnow.
Yeah, thundersnow. Whoa,
thundersnow, where it's like lightning and thunder and snowing, and it's like,
whoa.
The first time it happened, I'm like, that's it. The world's ending.
Oh my god,
insane! And it just seems like it happens every couple of years now, and it's the weirdest thing.
That's wild.
Yeah, now people are just like, meh, that's New England.
That's wild.
But are you kind of like out in the country, or are you?
Yeah, we're in the city right now. My wife's family out in the country every now and then, but I mean, even just being in the city is like the most peaceful, most peaceful experience. We're just like surrounded by. It's very, very, very chill.
No.
I would say that I've probably seen like 6 people since I've been here. Well, we've also been like self-quarantining, so
okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't been going out that much, but yeah, no, it's nice. It's very nice.
So where can our listeners go to find your music? Like, what's your social media handle? And
on Instagram, it's SNNY or die, Sunny or die, like funny or die, except Sunny or die. And on Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever streaming platform you use, it's just Sunny, SNNY.
So I just want to say thanks for taking the time to talk to us. The connection's been a little funky, but I think we made it work. I think it kind of cuts in and out here. So no, it's been a lot of fun, and hopefully you guys will be back in New York if that's where you want to head back to. And
hopefully soon.
Yeah, I think from what they're saying, this week, next week are supposed to be the worst of it, and then I was talking to someone in China last night. They said things are kind of going back to normal finally. So looks like we may be on like a 2-month kind of swing, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, man. Stay safe out there too.
Yeah, you too, and congratulations on the new baby, and hopefully you're getting some sleep.
Yeah, trying to. Yeah.
And again, thanks for talking to us, and all the best.
No problem. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. You can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art, except for Instagram, we're at Inebri-art6. You can email us with your questions, complaints, and whatnot at Inebriart@yahoo.com. And if you're looking for more podcasts, you can check out the other podcasts on our network, Retro Redoctopus, America's Hometown Horror, and, of course, Bar Talk, Old Colony, and Inebri-art Podcast, the original. So check those out and subscribe and comment so we can reach more people, and thanks for listening.